I'm having a bowl of pesto pasta with a big gulp full of water. I like to reduce, reuse, recycle, and I really like the big size of this. I like big things. But that's neither here nor there. I'm watching this interview with Elon Musk and it's really interesting. I also had a very interesting conversation with somebody this past weekend, somebody who's like typically been extremely progressive, and it was just fascinating to kind of like hear them start to change their tune a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like people be starting to change their tune a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed, but the gays especially are like, oh fuck. I'm trying to get good lighting. I don't have a ring light. I got nothing. Okay, so this is the best we're gonna do today. But it's just really interesting to me that a lot of these like gay progressives, the people that really went gung-ho for the vaccine and gung-ho for Big Pharma, are suddenly waking up like, oh wow, really? Big Pharma's not my friend? Well, at what point did you wake up? Like, what was it? Because I've been screaming about this for ages, and I actually just stopped talking about it because I was like, everyone knew how I felt. I sent tweets. I sent shit out that made it very obvious which side of history I was on, which was, this is fucking ridiculous. This is a sham and a scam. And we're all being duped. And like most things, I was proven right. Wow. I was proven right. So, it's not even that I'm vindicated. It's just kind of like, bro, I learned through the pandems that I'm smarter than 95% of y'all. Like, maybe even 96, 97. Like, I did not fall for that propaganda. I was like, Big Pharma be paying the shits. They be paying for the ad. Like, it was just so obvious. Like, I would go to the New York Athletic Club and I would sit in the dry sauna and I would open up the New York Times or like the Wall Street Journal. Cause yeah, I read the fucking papers. I don't read digital. I read the physical. I'm old fashioned. I'm a classic man. And they would have them. And the articles that are in the paper are actually different from the ones that run online. I don't think a lot of people realize that, especially like the New York Post. I fuck with the New York Post. Like, I fuck with the New York Post big time. But just like going and like opening the pages of like New York Times and seeing like full page ads taken out by Johnson and Johnson. And I'm like, oh, all of this propaganda that they're spinning, I wonder where it's coming from. I wonder if it's because they're trying to keep their advertisers happy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was very obvious to me that they bought those inches, and like it was wild when people like just like things that are like basic fundamentals of science. Like, bro, that's not how a virus works. Sorry, my bathroom light has a sensor on it, so it turns on every time I like move. But yeah, all this to say, I guess what I'm trying to say is it was really interesting to start hearing from a person who was so pro-vaccine, so pro-lockdown, so like progressive, to now see them like start to question and be like, I don't know about these institutions. Like, these institutions are failing us. They're failing us. And I'm like, bruh, where have you been? Like, I've been screaming about this for years. I don't trust the government. You shouldn't. Don't trust the fucking government, bro. If they could have you dead, they would. You know, like, you just like, the only person you got in this world is yourself and your family and a couple of friends. That's it. That's all you got in this life. You don't like Oh God, it was just like the worst part about it was that it was so obvious. That was like the worst part to me, is like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm very aware of what is real and I'm very aware of what is not real. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very rooted in my reality and I think very clearly. I'm not the type of bitch that like goes backwards and forwards and flippity flop, like indecisive. I'm like, no, like right is right and wrong is wrong. I will never forget the people that were calling for folks to lose their job over a vaccine that didn't work. It didn't work, babe. You can't vaccinate the flu. I said that from the beginning. And it's just crazy. I was like, you realize that like every season there's a flu shot, but that flu shot is developed from the previous season's flu. And no one believed me. I was like, look it up, research it, look it up, look it up, research it. No one wanted to. And now they're starting to, like, the World Health Organization, man, a scam. And it's a shame because, like, that big pharma money, it goes real far. And they're putting pressure, you know? They're putting pressure on these institutions that are supposed to be very knowledgeable, actually. And they're supposed to be, like, giving people the truth, but they don't. And they haven't for a very long time. I've known this. I've known this since forever. 8 years? I remember 2016, 7 years, 8 years? 2016 was when I was like, when I went to the Rio Olympics, I got a really big, rude awakening because I started to see firsthand how propaganda works. You know what I'm saying? Like the machine. And I just remember seeing like the Ryan Lochte shit, like Lochte Gate playing out in real time and being like, yo, what's happening in real life that I witnessed and I saw is so different from what's being reported. Do you know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh wow, this is that propaganda. This is that Bernays shit, you know? Bernays, look him up. He's the father of public relations and damage control. Look up, bitch, I'm fucking smart, bro. Like, I went to a really good school and I got a great education. Like, people, like, yeah, I'm ditzy and yeah, I like to be kind of airy fairy faggy, but like, no, like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's the problem, is like, when people don't listen to me, I get really annoyed because I'm like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. People, it was real scary. It was a real scary time in history because I think I was just really confronted with like people who believe lies. You know, they read the newspaper and it's lying to you, but they can't tell that it's a lie. You know? And bro, I come from a part of the world where there's no freedom. There's no freedom. So I'm incredibly sensitive to protect my freedom. Very sensitive to protect my freedom and the freedom of others, bro. Like, everybody knows where I stand on this. I would go, there was a woman who started up a shop in Bed-Stuy, and I remember she got fired from her job because she refused the vaccine. And I remember thinking, that's fucked up. So I gave my money to her and I posted about it on IG stories and I let the world know that that's fucked up because I like to stand for what is right. I do. I stand for what is right. I was over this whole shenanigan March 2020. Like, when everyone else was starting to get into a panic, I was like, this is fucking, like, they want to get this president out. That's all this is. And they're willing to crash and burn the entire world to get rid of him. Yo, look around you. America's burning. America's on fire. America is a hellhole, dude. The open, like, do you know how frustrating it is to be a person who played by the book? I came here, I got an education, I did my dues, I play by the rules. My dad's an immigration lawyer, bro. Like, I play by the rules. I got my visa legally. And then to see millions of people just like wander on over the border, like, and that's the things, like, I don't blame them. They're not the problem. I'm not angry at people who are trying to leave places where they've got no hope and no freedom. Of course you're gonna come to America. Of course you're gonna walk over that border. Of course you're gonna want more opportunities. So I don't fault them for coming here. But that's the problem in this country. There's no rules anymore, and it's like of a deep detriment to people like me who came here and played by the rules. And I'm just like, why did I do any of that? What was the point of that? There was no point in that. I may as well have just like waited and then caught a flight over and never gone back home, you know? It's madness. It's madness. But like, I just see a lot of people starting to like suddenly be, the world's shifting back to conservative. People are starting to be a little bit more conservative. Now, I hope the social shit stays. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I hope we have, you know, more tolerance towards like the trans youth. And you guys know I've done work with the trans youth. You guys know that I've done charity work for the trans youth. Like, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I did the Los Angeles LGBT Resource Center fundraiser, and they said you could put your money for any of these different causes that the center does. And I chose LGBTQ housing, specifically transgender youth housing. That was where I wanted to put my coin. And I was like, if I earn any money from doing this charity work, that's where the charity is going. And you can ask them, it's true, that's where I put my money, because I was like, these are the people that are the most disaffected. These are the ones that are really struggling. And these are the ones that get kicked out of home with the least access to the, like the least access to resources, basically. And yeah, like, I hope we can keep those social issues of like protecting queer rights. You know, I hope we can keep that component, but we gotta be smart. Like, the country gotta get smarter, man. Like, America is not being run by smart people. It's not being run by smart people. It's being, and like, why is Gavin Newsom over in China? Does anybody else think that's really fucking weird? That's weird. What is he doing in China? I mean, you read newspapers, I'm telling you, babe, they have infiltrated, like, America's enemies have infiltrated every single media establishment, except for maybe the Free Press, which was formerly known as Common Sense by Barry Weiss. I signed up for that years ago. I've been a fan of Barry Weiss for years, and the gays hate her, but I've always loved her. I was like, no, this is a lesbian Jewish woman who is very smart, that knows what the fuck is right and what the fuck is wrong. And they did her dirty at the New York Times, honey. They did her dirty. To my uneducated folk, this is all going to be mumbo jumbo. To the people paying attention to journalism and telecommunication and media messaging, you guys know who these names are. You already know who Barry Weiss is. Barry Weiss is a centrist that they brought into the New York Times after Donald Trump won, because they wanted to try to kind of bridge this gap. In 2016, when Trump won the election, they were doing things to try to bridge this gap between the coastal elites and middle America. And she was sort of brought on to try to bridge that gap. And obviously it ended horrendously. But I remember reading her articles at the New York Times and being fascinated by them. They were the only things at the time that involved quality, aside from the cooking recipes. And no shade, but it's true. Yeah, Barry Weiss was lit, and I loved her writing. I thought she was very smart. I thought that she could explain the struggles of middle America, the struggles of the centrists, which are now labeled as conservatives. Basically, if you're not some like whack job with blue hair screaming to win the oppression Olympics, you're a conservative at this point. Like, and then another thing that I had on this conversation is this person self-identified as a Christian suddenly. I was like, you're a Christian now? Since when? I've always been very transparent about my love of Jesus Christ. Listen. Even when it weren't trendy, I was like, no, don't be talking shit about my beliefs, please. Or because you had a bad experience with your church, don't mean we all have bad experiences with our church. You feel me? That's you. That's you. And in fact, making a blanket statement about a group, whether it be religious, whether it be queer, whether it be trans, whether it be a racial group, making any generalization of an entire group of people on media stereotypes is the textbook definition of bigotry. So who's the fucking bigot now? You are. Labeling all Christians crazy. We're not all crazy, just the evangelicals, okay? Some of us are fun. I'm a fun Christian. At my church, it wasn't a sin to drink, but it was a sin to drink and throw up. Not sinful to drink, but it's just sinful to drink and throw up. Oh my God. I just love, like, I don't know, religion fascinates me because it's really funny. Like, the same way that Catholics don't count oral sex as sex. I don't know, I just find that really funny. I'm Catholic. I don't count oral sex as sex. It's funny, these little like loopholes in religion to like have sex and drink. Anyway, I just think it's really funny to like talk to a person who's like so liberal and so progressive and so woke to suddenly be like reassessing their values. And I'm like, bruh, I knew what the truth was from the beginning. All those habits and things that you now be doing, no? And I'm not gonna say it, but all those things that I recommended that you do, that you're now finally doing, congratulations, welcome. I really wish everyone else would follow suit. Because we are living in a crazy ass world, and like America's enemies are winning, bro. Like, they bought out them bot farms. And if you, I've always thought it was funny that when I shat on America at the Rio 2016 Olympics was when I got the most amount of press and followers online. You know what I'm saying? Like when I started really shitting on America and calling them out on their hypocrisy was when, I don't know, my shit got viral, you know what I'm saying? So I've always questioned that. I'm like, oh wow, it seems like a really trendy thing and an easy way to get followers is to shit on America. And my theory is that when you sow seeds of distrust in this country and you sow destruction, you know, whether it be the fat positivity movement, whether it be big pharma, whether it be fighting between genders and feminism and equality, you know, like all of those things are just distractions to keep us separated. You know, like I think when you study the fall of the Roman Empire, it was bad policy and lack of motivation. And I mean, there were several other different factors too, but really like people getting pushed to that point of just losing faith in all of their institutions. But I'm like, bro, I lost faith in the institutions long ago. This is why we've got to rewrite the books. We've got to like rebuild all of this from the floor up again with equity and fairness. You know, But how can we do that when we're in $33 trillion worth of debt? Is it like 33 now? It's like crazy. I mean, it was not at 33 when Trump ended. I think it was at like 12. Like, they've blown out the country's debt. And let me remind you, my parents went to Vietnam very recently, like within the past month. And let me remind you that all because America has the biggest military in the world does not mean that they win every war. You could argue that they lost the Vietnam War. America lost the Vietnam War. With as much money and resources and all of this stuff that they have, they lost that war. So you would be a fool to think that they win every war, because they don't. And the way that this country has like gone into the Middle East and just kind of like, it's like, I liken it to like a bull in a china shop. You know what I'm saying? Like a big fat bull, like in a china shop. Like, America went into the Middle East and they're just like stumbling around and like destroyed Libya, destroyed Syria, destroyed. It's not funny. It's not funny. But it's just like, yo, when are we going to practice some isolationism in this country? If you want to know what that term is, look it up. Isolationism. That's what I am. America needs to isolate from the world and concentrate on America's problems. You know? That's it. Like, we need, like, what are we doing? What are we doing in that part of the world? I don't know. Oh, oil. Which the environmentalists are brainwashed into, like, destroying, right? I'm gonna leave you with this. Everything that you see, from the phone that you have in your hand, to the underwear underneath your pants, to the shoes on your feet and the socks, to the fan that I just turned off in the background, to the light, to the desk that this is all sitting on, even to my, you know, little tripod that's sitting here, all of it is made with oil. Do you understand that? Do you know that? All of it is made with oil. All of it. So the reason why the coastal elites hate Texas so much and why they shit on Texas at every opportunity that they can get is because Texas has oil. That's it. And the oil lobby, to every $1 they spend in Washington, D.C., they get about 1,000 back, right? And they were having way too much power. So what's the easiest way to get rid of oil? You gotta replace it. You gotta, you know, play up destroying of the planet, you know? Texas, if Texas was to secede, right? If Texas was to leave America and become its own country, everything would go up here. Everything would become incredibly expensive because Texas is rich in minerals and resources and oil. Yeah. So that's why they shit on Texas every opportunity they can get, because they know how powerful that state is. They know how much that state runs and keeps this country running. If they were to cut off that state, everything would become exponentially more expensive. So when you go to Texas, everyone that I've ever met that's been to Texas has loved it. I've never met a person that's hated Texas, because Texas is a great state and there's a reason why so many people are moving there. There's a reason for it. There's no income tax. You can get a really nice lifestyle for very cheap. Sure, you're kind of left on your own because there's no real government to look after you, but what would you prefer? A shitty government that's overpaid and trying to kill you, or no government at all? Let's just not have any government at all, and then you're on your own, and then let's just like figure it out, you know? Texas is the only state that doesn't need to, like, in order for meat to be sold, it doesn't have to go through the USADA. Like, it does not have to be vetted. It really is, they call it a rebellious state, but it's not really rebellious. It's just free. It's freedom, you know? And by God, how many people are out of touch with what freedom is? It's insane, man. It's crazy. It's insane. But you have to look at this whole Russia situation. Like, Russia is Texas. Russia is Texas. And the rest of the EU, the rest of Europe, are the other 49 different states, right? So when you cut Russia out of the equation, everything's going to get exponentially more expensive. And it has. You know, they don't have, people don't know this, and it's crazy that a lot of people don't know geopolitics, but Germany was buying very cheap gas from Russia. Very, very cheap natural gas. And they were getting it from a pipeline from Russia, which has since been blown up. But they were getting it from a pipeline in Russia. And then whatever excessive gas that Germany had left over, they were selling to the rest of Europe at a profit, right? So Trump went in there and he was like, well, why are we bankrolling NATO to protect Germany from Russia, only to have Germany do a backhand gas deal with Russia to then sell back to the rest of Europe? Seems like a conflict of interest. And you can look it up. Look up that clip. It's quite fascinating. But that's it. Texas is a little bit like Russia. We and they supply the oil to the rest of everybody else, and very cheaply too. And they hate that, and they're trying to destroy that. They're trying to omit them out of the equation. Listen, babe, it's all power. It's all power, politics. I'm not telling you what's right and what's wrong. I'm not telling you what's right and what's wrong. I don't know what's right and what's wrong. What I do know is that I would like to not pay as much money for things. But it is what it is. People are getting a rude awakening, and people are starting to swing back to conservative values because we went a little too far in the other direction. We did. So, hey, over a bowl of pasta, I've educated you bitches on a lot of things. There are a lot of things for you to look up, a lot of things for you to research, and you'll find out that I'm right. Because I'm right, you know. I tell it like it is, bro. I tell it like it is. Look all this stuff up. Look up like Trump, German Chancellor, maybe it was Angela Merkel. There's a clip where he meets with them to like renegotiate how much money America's going to send to NATO to protect them from Russia, which again, they did a back-end deal with to get cheap gas. Cheeky as fuck. America, you know what? America really needs to focus on American problems. That's what America needs to do. Anyway, this was long enough. It's like 30 minutes. I hope that was helpful for y'all to understand what's going on in the world. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you who's right. I'm not telling you who's wrong. But I will tell you how the world works. So. Oh, and